Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to Georgia Shooting Connection Friday Night Live Stream. Hope y'all had a great week. Kyle, tell everybody howdy.
Good morning, everybody. It's always morning in my world. Glad to have we got a little echo.
Excuse me.
Glad to have everybody in side chat as always. Gonna get everything fired up. Hope everybody had a good week. Mine was just long and tedious, but I'm going to North Carolina in the morning, so I don't care. Okay, let's go down here to Mark with a C.
Hello. How is everyone tonight? I don't have anything to
caught you off guard. We did.
What's that?
We caught you off guard. We did. Snoozing in the corner. You were leaning back on the chair, just sitting back and listening.
I have nothing upcoming. I've been very much remiss in posting anything on YouTube, but I've been staying plenty busy. Plenty of things with family. I really need to get in the shop and do some leather work. I have a bunch of orders backed up, but it's great to be here tonight. Wonderful to see everybody, and I'm going to pass it off to whomever.
Thanks for being here, brother.
I'll take it. Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody again. Side chat, y'all are awesome. I'll try to sign into something else so I can read it later, but nothing fancy going on here. Had a mail package this weekend and got a new mold, so I might show it off in a little while.
Excellent.
But we'll pass it up there to Ohio.
Mr. Hot Pot.
That's OH10 that live here and love it, baby.
OH10.
Welcome back, my peoples. Thanks for joining us on another evening of the Georgia Shooting Connection. Well, I got a new series coming in, the new video series on my JXP 10 millimeter. Thing's a sweet shooter. I mean, for a high point, wow, impressed, crazy. So I got some videos coming out on that. Got a busy weekend coming up. Been busy at work. I'm going to post a short here in a little bit of a little circle around of the area that I work in. Now you see all the machinery and stuff. It's pretty neat. Other than that, man, I'm just glad to be here and I'm ready to get some schooling on.
Cool, Joel. Well, let's see. What do I got going on? I got a couple videos out in the last few days. I had that one with that holster that my buddy over in Italy sent me. That was really nice. If you haven't seen that one, the fella did a really nice job for me. Very, very nice Italian leather that he did. And I got kind of the introduction video out for this casting series that I'm doing for 45 ACP. That's going to end up being 4 or 5 more parts of that dribbling out over the next couple of weeks. And let's see what else happening. I spent the day in the garage today doing some woodwork projects, each of which I had to do about 4 times before I got them right. Got more sawdust on the floor than I had product on the bench when I was done, but oh well. And I went out, got some kayaking done yesterday. About to kick my butt. Holy moly, we took off. We went a long way. With all the rain we had one of our local rivers that dumps into a lake that was down to about 45% capacity and filled up to 115%. Was flowing over. So we paddled up the river until we couldn't go into the current anymore and realized we were about 6 or 7 miles in, and we were worn out because we were paddling uphill against the current the whole way. And then the wind came up and was in our face coming back. So by the time my buddy Tommy and I got back to the launch point, we were thrashed. We could barely get out of the kayaks and get them loaded again. I looked at him. I said, "This is your idea." He said, "Oh, it was your idea." Anyway, it was fun. So that's what I've been up to. I got some more video stuff coming up with this 45 series next week. So that's me, Mr. Scotsman. Knock knock. What are you up to?
What's going on? It's good to be here. Good to see everyone out there. Side chat's rocking and rolling already. Not a whole lot going on as far as the main channel, but I do have something coming up on the Mr. Holster dedication channel. So we are building something, and then we're going to be doing a weekly show coming up on that channel. So stay tuned for that. We're going to put something out about that here probably this week and let you guys kind of know. But I have a custom sign being made and on the way, so should be pretty cool. Other than that, good to be here. Good to see everyone out there, and I'm looking forward to the chat. So with that, we'll throw it over to Kingpin. What you got, brother?
Maybe throw up a link to that channel, Scotsman, just so everybody can be sure they can subscribe to you.
Yep, I'll grab
it. What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me. Good to see everyone tonight. And I'm not too sure who is next on the list. I just now got in here, so whoever's next, feel free.
It's you. You're here.
Good to see you.
You're it. You're here.
That would be CW. How you doing, brother?
Doing well. Doing really well. Nice to sit down and chat with you guys and take a load off and exhale and a nice cold drink, and nice to just chat a little bit. I got a couple of videos out. I got a video out this afternoon that I've been working on for a couple days, and I ran out to the post office and I got a box, so I had to do another quick video of that, and that'll be finishing up probably in the morning for editing, and I'll post that tomorrow. But I've been doing the cartridge collection, bullet collection videos, and they've been going pretty good. Everybody seems to like them. And I started on the last video, and when I started pulling it out, I saw that Fuzzy had a video dedicated to me about some of the same topics, and I had way more than I wanted to do. I'm trying to limit the time, and they keep running close to 30 minutes, and that makes for a long video. I don't like them that long, but nobody was complaining, but I still tried to make them shorter. So I'm going to have the one I did today and probably at least one more, maybe two more along the lines of those cartridge boxes. So everybody seems to be interested in it. I know I love it. I really like that kind of stuff. So everybody else seems to like it too. So I'll keep making them.
I'll go ahead and get my complaining now. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, it's a long video, I know. I didn't like it when I did it. I was going to break it down, and I said, well, let me throw it up on Rumble and see how it goes. And it got really good comments, and nobody had a problem with it being. I wanted it longer. I had a couple guys say, you could make it longer. I could listen to you talk about this stuff for longer. I said, well, maybe it's okay. So
as long as the information's good, it doesn't matter the time.
I've had to set time away to just go and watch them. I didn't get to them all yet, but I definitely will. I would listen to that all day.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I've got a couple I'm going to be making, and they're going to be rather long. So, but they're involved topics and involved things, and that's just going to happen. So we haven't had Kingpin on for a while. I got to say, it's awful nice to hear his velvet tones down there, as opposed to my mutt in the other room yapping because he came in for supper. So he's fixing to go back outside. Topic number 1 for the evening. How far do you take your gunsmithing? I mean, most of us guys that are reloaders, we're pretty handy with tools and know a good bit about firearms because you pretty much got to be if you're going to be a reloader. So where's the limit? Where do you stop and take it to a professional, or do you? Mock, we'll let you start on that subject if you want.
I'm pretty handy, like you said. I didn't buy headspace gauges, so I took a gun in to have the headspace checked. I've drilled and tapped a few receivers. Can't really include AR as a build because they're pretty easy to build.
Yeah. Assembly.
But that's not building a gun. That's just putting one together. Haven't had a need really for any major gunsmithing stuff, you know. So, but I'll try anything. You know, all the guns I own, I can tear down and put back together as they are. Troubleshoot some smaller issues, but yeah, got access to a mill and a lathe if I need to try and punch something out. So definitely have the means, but just haven't had the need as far as that goes for any major work.
There's a couple of issues there, Mark. Nowadays, most of the guns that we buy come with lifetime warranties, and you can box them up and send them off.
Yeah,
But we also know that if we do that, uh, it's going to be a while, and there's a chance that it's going to get lost and all that. So,
right. Right. I don't trust the mail. Yeah, the manufacturer is probably going to do a decent job repairing it, but sending it back's a mess. I ain't going to get into that. I'd rather give it to a gunsmith here if it's not a, recall, so to speak. But I think they should contract out those recalls and give them to certain gunsmiths that are qualified instead of having to send them to the factory.
Sometimes they do. Depends on what
Yeah,
it is.
you're right. They do. Yeah.
well, as on that topic, I'll venture a comment and say we want to send it back to the people that didn't get it right the first time. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, the old Monday firearm, Wednesday, and Friday firearms, all three of them are going to be different.
And that goes with anything in production.
Right.
Definitely want to buy a Wednesday car, Wednesday motorcycle, Wednesday gun.
Or if they change materials. Yeah.
The sad part comes down to who's the gunsmith that's in the shop at the time when the gun gets there. Who's your lucky pick? Do you get the one that's the top notch on shift 3, or do you get the one on first shift who doesn't give a crap?
I've reamed out a 12 gauge and threaded it for an internal choke, threaded the outside of a barrel on a lathe, and practiced making threads for other things. But like I said, I haven't had a need, for any major repairs. So.
Kingpin, you want to chime in, brother?
For me, it's pretty much basic field strip stuff. If I need to, like MCK was talking about, putting an AR together, I can throw a trigger in, or a P80 or something like that, a pistol. I could build one of those. If there's something wrong with the gun, I'm not messing with it. I'm gonna take it to a gunsmith. I've got a model 37A shotgun that needs some serious ender-loving care, and I'm not even going to pretend to touch it because I'll just make it worse and worse. So I know my limitations, and it's basic build strip. I can change a firing pin and springs and stuff like that if I need to, but other than that, I'm not a firearms builder, so I know my role.
So when you say it needs some 10 to 11 care, what's going on with it?
The front bead is broke off of it. It hasn't been fired in probably 30 years, maybe a little bit longer. It's got some of the plastic stuff that covers the receiver from the stock that's broken on it. And like I said, it hasn't been fired in over 30 some years. And I'm not gonna stuff a shell in there and start pulling the trigger.
No, that's a wise decision.
Well, since nobody's jumping in, as far as just taking things apart, putting them together, installing new parts and all that, I don't have a problem at all doing that. I've got all the tools to do it. Where I stop is when something needs to be precision machine, not just take a Dremel and smooth something out, polish on this part, polish on that part. That I'm great with all that, but when something needs to be precision machined, uh, I'm going gunsmith. I used to have access to a milling machine and all that stuff, but the man that owned it has since passed away, and I no longer have that access because it doesn't exist anymore. So I would do stuff on a milling machine and all that. You can go computer, you can go manual, you know, you can do whatever you want to with this one that I had access to, but I no longer have that. So if it's got to be precision fit, uh, I'm letting somebody else do that. But I mean, as far as hand lapping and dremeling out just a little bit to get a little extra clearance or get rid of a ding or something like that, I'm fine with that.
That's good news, Abigail. Way to go, girl. Nice.
Nice.
Very
A
good.
good feeling having a success.
Yeah.
Gene shot more of my 12 gauge reloads than I have.
They run good too. They run good. Me myself, as far as gunsmithing, I'm very handy. I'm very competent on a mill, presses, lathes. So I don't have any problem doing anything. I've not had the need to do anything, but I'm not scared to jump into my buddy's shop and do something if I need it, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter. Building guns, assembling them, I do that a lot. There's only one firearm I've ever tore completely apart and had a problem getting it back together, and that was a CZ clone. It's a Canic 55, and what it took was a specialty CZ tool to get in there and get the springs back in correctly without harming them. And I seen I was going to harm it, so I called my buddy who's a gunsmith at an LGS, and he put it back together for me. That's the only time I've ever taken anything apart and had any issues with it, but I just didn't have the tool. And I'm not going to buy that tool for that one project. So, he did it for a couple boxes of ammo for me. Everything else, I'm not scared to sand, blue, polish, redo, wood, steel. I'm pretty crafty in all areas.
I don't do much on my own firearms other than take them apart and put them back together. As you guys know, I'm no rifleman anyway. And the rifles that I have the most of are the Henry Big Boys, and they're simple to take apart, put back together if you need to do them. They're pretty easy, not a whole lot to them with lever guns. 1911s don't bother me. They're easy. Take those apart. And, I'm as good as the next guy at losing pieces under the bench. So there's probably a whole 1911 under there somewhere. But so I don't mind doing that. My Glocks I've done, a little bit of clear work and polishing and stuff in there. But that's pretty much the extent of it. And I'm kind of like everybody else. If you got enough firearms around so that you're not shooting the same one all the time and wearing stuff out and breaking them, all of the damage gets spread out over 30 or 40 firearms and none of them notice it very much. And it's all that's kind of complicated by the fact that there just aren't many gunsmiths in my area. Nearest one is 50 miles away. I called him up a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, I've got a couple revolvers that got real rough forcing cones. Could you got the tooling to go in there and hone those out a little bit?" And he said, "Yeah, call me back in a year." That's how far backed up he was. So, and I never did. I just said, "I'll just go scrub them out myself when they get fouled." But, and I sent one back. One of my Ruger GP 100s had a problem. I called Ruger about it. And I said, "Hey, can you send this part?" It would have been, I think, an easy one to do. And I said, "Nope, that requires the firearm be sent back to the factory because it's a factory fitted part." So that was the only one that I ever had to send. And it took This was just about 2 years ago. It took them 3 months or something to get it turned around. It wasn't horrible, but so that's kind of the extent of what I would do. I don't have the tools, the equipment, the shop, and the facility, or access to any of the above really to do much more than what the average shooter would have in his toolbox. So
Yeah,
I'm not a
Fuzzy made
gunsmith.
a very good comment right there. We buy reloading books, so buy some gunsmithing books and sit back and read.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably not a bad idea.
Me and Jamie are actually very lucky when it comes to Glocks, even though I don't think Jamie owns any. I can take, if anything happens, I've got 2 Glocks. I've got a 19 and a 21. That's a 9mm and a 45. If anything happens to them, or if I just want their gunsmith, their master armorer to go through them, all I have to do is drive about 25 miles down the road, take it in there, hand it to them. This is what I want done, and sit back and wait. They'll do it while I wait. They'll go all the way through it, replace all the springs, your guide rods, and everything while you wait. In case y'all didn't know it, Glock has a factory about 25 miles south of us.
Smyrna.
Yep.
Wait, did Kyle say something?
I've never been there, but I've heard it's right close to Adventure Outdoors.
It's right off of. It is. It's right off of. I can't think of that road.
Cranky's got it right there. Thank you, Cranky.
I got a pistol. It's good to put inside of a plastic bag when you take it apart. Just saying.
I did buy a Rock Island Armory 1911 full size and replaced everything in it, which takes, you got to get some stones out, you got to do some filing, you got to fit parts to it. So I mean, I've went that far on the bench just with hand tools.
That 3-fingered spring, when I pulled that out of the 1911, I was like, what the heck is this mess? It ain't that bad once you know, but when you see it, you're like, what?
You talking
Yeah,
about
then put it back in under the sear.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
Or
Pete. Yep, got to do that again.
You get a Series 80 and you got that extra stupid little part that goes up there.
Yeah.
Well, kind of leading with what Fuzzy was saying, and kind of like Hop Hop right there too. You guys are extremely experienced reloaders. You went through all the different tests to where you're kind of basically inventing your own stuff now. Casting, extremely experienced casters. MCK talked about it earlier. All of us can build an AR with our eyes shut and customize it every different way with our eyes shut. How come more people, the average everyday guy, not the gunsmith, quote unquote, but the average everyday dude in the chat or person in the chat, how come you aren't building your own rifles? Not like ARs, but like regular bolt action type of rifles. And I understand, I don't mean, melting down steel and forming your own barrel kind of stuff. You can obviously buy your own parts or whatever, but how come more people don't do that? Well, maybe not more people. Why don't you guys do that? Because I don't know what other people do, and I know that you guys have a lot of experience.
For me, it might be just purpose driven. I don't have that need yet, but when it comes time to change a barrel, I'm going to change a barrel. Like I said, I haven't had the need, but I'm not afraid to get a strip receiver for a bolt and go for it. You just need a few special tools, and sometimes those tools are a nice chunk of money to get it right, to get it square, to get it, stuff like that.
To get it non-lumpy jawed.
See,
Right.
to do a good bolt action, you've got to have those milled surfaces. They've got to be straight, flat, and square, and that's almost impossible for us to do with hand tools.
Now, Jamie, we know you could do it with the master file set from Harbor Freight.
I'm working on it, Gene. I'm
and a
working
little
on
bit
it.
of JB
I
Webb.
mean, you can do it bare minimum. I mean, Jamie doesn't like how I started doing stuff when I started building stuff, but back when I started building stuff or assembling, however you want to put it, most of what I did was on the floor with just a wrench and my foot on top of the various parts and pieces so I could get the tension I needed. But you do what you got to do. But there's always ways around things. Um, and I would say probably the biggest thing as far as what you're talking about there, Kingpin, would be, and I can't speak for everybody, but for most people, I would think that a lot of it is the unknown. So, like with an AR, most people know an AR. Most people know the various parts, pieces, and how they go together, and how to put them together in a specific way. But I think a lot of people, when it comes to branching out and going into pistols or going into bolt actions, they're going into the unknown.
It goes back to saying what's your purpose, your limitations, and the access to tools. Like there's a guy out in the side chat who made his own air gun. I mean, parts from scratch. It's just what avenue do you want to take, and how far do you trust yourself? And it's just trial and error at that point.
Well,
I
I
tell you what,
understand
Pastor
that
Shields,
some, at least from my understanding, is semi-automatics generally have a little bit looser of a tolerance level. You could be a little bit here, a little bit there, and the bolt actions are like Jamie was saying. There's no little. You got to be there. The is the gap between the give and take that far between bolt action and semi-automatic?
yes.
It depends on what's good enough for you. Like if you're building a gun that you're just going to maybe hunt with at close range and teach kids shoot or whatever, then they make kits now. You can buy a kit that can reload. You can rebarrel a bolt action rifle with. They even send you the gauges, the headspace gauges. And Mr. Pollard's right. Brownells has tools to do almost everything. Uh, but if I'm building a rifle that I want to shoot long distance at 1,000 yards, the front of that receiver, where that barrel goes up against that receiver, has got to be dead straight, flat, and square. Then the mating surface of that barrel has to be the same way, and it's got to be timed right. I ain't putting no shims in that rifle. It's got to be right.
Face it off till it's right.
And then it's got to be threaded, and then it's got to be head spaced, and then it's got to be tightened up. Uh, but yeah, to do that, you're looking at lathe work, and I don't have a lathe, and as much as I wish I knew how to use one, yeah. But like Cranky said, we're not Ruger. Uh, but the thing about that is, what are you willing to put into a gun to do these things? I mean, you can buy a dang nice, good shooting rifle from Ruger for $400 nowadays. I mean, seriously.
And the Ruger American platform is really easy to change a barrel for us do-it-yourselfers. You got a barrel that's already chambered. It's almost it's a quick release kit. I mean, it's a done deal for a lot of people.
Thank
Well, my
you.
line of questioning is definitely based on a good quality gun. I'm not interested in
Right.
slapping something together as you're driving down the street, drinking coffee with one hand and putting the gun together with the other hand. No, I'm talking about like a quality firearm that you can enjoy and safely, use.
I understand. There's Hillbilly up. I forgot to send him a link tonight. That won't happen again. Yeah, I think it was Michael Dunn's. Why risk it? Pay a professional to do it for that kind of work. That's machine work. Yeah, that's where I'm drawing the line. That's where I'm going to take it to a gunsmith. Another thing is timing revolvers. I don't want to get into all that mess. What about you, Mark? We hadn't heard from you down there, Mark with a C.
I
Are
think he
you?
fell. I think he fell asleep.
You might be chatting.
We got a chat napper, folks.
We do. He's asleep.
For that one.
Tickle, 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 tickle. He's gonna hate the replay of this, ain't he?
He's gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, Jamie, come on! You gotta leave him up. You gotta put him up there for
No,
at
he
least a
knows. He's a sleepy guy.
minute.
And it's knowing your limitations too with the machinery. I'm not gonna do nothing too crazy without the guidance of someone else, you know.
Let's look at
I'm
this.
lucky to have that around me. A lot of folks don't have that around them, you know.
I
Damn,
wish I could sleep like that. I ain't making fun of him. I'm jealous.
Kingpin, you put Mark to
That
sleep.
looks like a comfortable chair.
Look, he's not sleeping. You see, you guys gotta think positively. He's not sleeping. He's sitting there deeply in thought about
His
this bolt action rifle that he's about to build from scratch.
His internet's froze. That's all. He was blinking.
He's recharging.
Let me address this comment right here from Mike Hester. But Jamie, will it put 5 shots that measure less than 1/10 of an inch? It don't matter, Mike, what the rifle will do because I can't.
Right?
That's back to what Dave Thorzak's always telling us. Most of these guns that we're paying, I mean, if you buy them high dollar guns, you know, $15,000-$20,000 custom built rifle to shoot competition with and all that kind of stuff. I can't. I'm past my prime when it comes to shooting. And when I was younger, I could shoot, but not so much that well anymore. There's Chris from the 740. We're gonna have to run down the side chat, and I know Scotsman's taking gunsmithing classes. What would your limits be, Scotsman?
My limits at this point are simply machining stuff, man. I don't have any machines at the moment. Anything hand tool wise, anything that I can break apart and jump into and all that, I'll do it. But as far as my limits go to is what I have as far as tools, and I don't have a whole lot of machinery as of yet. So machinery is kind of where my limit stops. If it's got to be machined or anything like that, then I got to take it somewhere. But past that, I'll dive into it. I don't care. I'll break it down. I'll do whatever. I'm not scared to do it.
You'll look for springs for about an hour and a half.
I mean, there's
sometimes you look for springs for days. It depends on what you're doing, man.
There's a lot of gunsmiths that will take parts that need machined to a machine shop, and just kind of sub that out.
Right. And if once I'm in a better spot and I'm able to get those machines and stuff, I'll get the machines. But that's pretty much the only limit I really have.
There's a little plastic buffer in the back of a Marlin Model 60, and at the time I didn't know about Numrich, and I took a piece of UHMW, that white plastic, and shaved one out, cut it, drilled it, and messed with it until I got it to fire in that gun. That's kind of neat to hand fit something with a bunch of basic tools. Just stuff like that, you just get into it as needed.
Yep, and that's it. I'm buying the tools slowly but surely, just getting pieces, parts, and stuff that I need here and there. And the machines will be the last thing, because the machines cost the money. It's just like the lathe, for example, that I would want, and only because I've dealt with lathes a lot in my time. the lathe that I would want to get is going to be right around $3,500. So that's the base model. But it's when you get into it, you get into it. You don't half-ass it. You drop the money and you buy what you got to buy.
I'd almost rather have an old. It's a 1940 heavy 10, Bridgeport, not Bridgeport, but yeah, and that thing is just a tank. It's been around that long and still has tight tolerances. It's just crazy how long those last.
So, all right, Scotsman. And this, I guess anybody can answer this, but I'll just direct it to Scotsman first. If you had all the top line equipment that you could dream of, what would you do? Would you build your round around your rifle, or would you build your rifle around your round? Where would you start?
Well, as reloaders, we always build the round to the gun. So that's really not even a question. You always build the round to the firearm.
Yeah, but when you can ream your own chamber, you're getting into that next step. You can take that chamber and make it as tight as you want.
You can make it as tight as you want, but what's the limit as to and they're talking kind of about in the side chat there a little bit. What's the limit of how small a group do you want? I mean, here's the thing. Like for me, for example, I'm perfectly fine if I'm getting an inch group at a couple 100 yards. I'm okay with that because it's all right there. It's in the meat and the bones of what I need it to be. I'm not worried about making it as tiny as can be, shooting in the same hole constantly. I'm not worried about that. If it's gonna hit where I need it to hit and get within that zone, for most of us, we're all hunters. If it's gonna get right in that zone where I need it to be, that's all that matters.
True. That's Again, it's purpose driven.
Getting it in the same hole over and over and over again. Yeah, it's fun, but it gets old. I'm an archer too, and I haven't done a whole lot of it in the past few years just because of my shoulder. But back in the day when I was shooting a lot of archery, man, I'd go through arrows like crazy because I kept hitting the back of the other arrow and freaking blowing out arrows. That gets expensive.
I miss the days when they had the tapered knocks and you could knock off. Nowadays they got those fancy knocks with the holes and you ruin the arrow.
It gets expensive, but there's no point to it. That's my point. There's no point to it. So long as you're getting it within that certain range that you want, that's all that matters. And again, most of us are hunters, so we're trying to get it within 3-4 inches of where we need it to be, and that's it. And once within that range, it should be fine.
You start doing this, it gets expensive.
It gets extremely expensive. Even when you get discounts, because at the time I was getting discounts and buying them at half the price, it still gets expensive because you buy more because you're constantly getting them at half the price, but you're still blowing them out. I can tell you how many arrows I went through. It's ridiculous.
Maybe I don't know any better, but when I think about shooting competitions with bow and arrow, I think of one bullseye with one target with one bullseye. When I go to the range, I'll put up one target, but it's got multiple bullseyes on it.
Target spots.
Why don't archers use one target with multiple bullseyes, so that way you don't have to aim at the back of your
They do. There's all kinds of stuff, and then there's also 3D archery. There's all kinds of things out there, but for whatever reason, and it's been this way hell since I've been doing archery. I've been doing archery for many years, but there's this thing out there where people seem to think that they have to be able to hit their own arrow for some freaking reason. I don't know if it's the whole Robin Hood thing from way back when, but these guys out there think they have to be able to just dead nuts it right back in the other end of the arrow.
Well, wait a second. Let's be honest. The first time you did it, you felt pretty good about yourself.
The first time, let's be honest, the first time I did it, it was an accident.
But you still felt pretty good about it. You looked over at your boys and was like, look, look, look. Maybe
No,
the
he
second or
shoots at
third
a
time you're
different
like, man,
target.
this is getting expensive.
When you can do it
shooting at a
without
different target.
sights, when you can do it without sights on the bow, that's when you know you're good. And I have done that many times, but that's when you know you're good, when you can do it without sights on the bow. Until that point, there ain't no bragging rights.
Okay, let's take a second and everybody type in 357 and we'll call your name out and thank all y'all for being here. Good topic, good discussion so far. And we'll get to CW here when we finish calling out the side chat. And bang, everybody's. So we got Hasbro, CW, Paul Loud, Big Al, GGW Outdoors, Bald and Curious. What's up, brother? Abigail Finnegan, Bobby Barlow, Six Shooter Texan, Walter, Walks Fletcher, Kyle, AR Gun 1776. Good to see you feeling better. Rollis Carvelis. Let me put that up there. Got Michael Dunn, Burnaby Sanchez, Andy 79Z28. That's good news what I was reading earlier. We got James Pollard, Alaska One Andy, Mike Hester, Tactical Bud, Rollis Carvelis, Papa's Place, Mike Hester, Wes, Kyle, the other Kyle, Pony underscore 47, Dwayne 7834, Tim S, Hipparchus, Cranky Cletus, James Pollard, one guy, Harm, Bobby's Hobo, Garage Guy 879, Michael Dunn, Bald and Curious, Buzz T48. Somebody's got to be different, don't they? Chris from the 740. Kingpin is in here and out there. And so, Andy, I'm excited to hear somebody's. There's an actual company interested in zinc bullets. And Hornady has some really deep dives in the last few podcasts that go into some of this subject as far as cartridge and the true accuracy that the gun can produce. You know, I listen to them sometime at work, Wallace. I listened to one, it was about a week or so ago, and they were talking in depth about 22. So, okay, CW, what's your limits? When do you call the gunsmith or send your gun off?
I'll let you know when I find out. I haven't cut threads in a barrel, but I know my way around a Bridgeport and a lathe. I have access to both. I've got a gun on the bench now that I'm putting a new barrel on. I've been working on it for a while. It's a Hornet, and let's see. I've got a single shot shotgun I'm working on right now that I just refinished the metal with some Duracoat and refinished the wood and put a recoil pad on. So that's on the bench right now. I don't like timing revolvers, but I know how to do it. It's tedious. It's easier when you have a lot of extra parts on hand. It's really nerve-wracking when you don't. I've had to weld on parts and rebuild them back up and recut them to gain material that I removed a couple times, and it's no fun. But I enjoy it. I like it a lot. I spent the last few days working on a mold for Ricky, and I had to I had to make some new pins, alignment pins for it, because one of the factory ones turned out to be riveted, peened, swelled, and when I got it out, I couldn't make it true enough to put it back in, so I just made a new one. I just built a 6mm rem last year with a full intention of doing the whole thing, but I found an outfit where I decided to buy my barrel that they cut the chamber, custom throated it for my bullets for my extra length, and put it on the receiver for $90. I couldn't do it for that myself. I just go ahead and let them do it. The price was right, so
Yeah, that's a good deal.
yeah, it's a killer deal. So why not? But I was kind of looking forward to saying I built that rifle, but now I just assembled it. They did the hard parts, but it's going to depend on time frame, cost, combination of all that. What you've got for abilities for time. I've always been do-it-yourself kind of guy. From oil changes to caliber changes. I've rechambered a whole bunch of barrels. I've done them by hand. I've done a couple on the lathe. Most of them by hand. Some of them you just can't do by hand. Found that out the hard way early on. But I enjoy doing gunsmithing. And I don't do it for other people. I do it for myself. I do simple things for other people, repairs and things. I've helped out buddies and such. But I'm not going to do some of the major stuff for other people. I'd feel awful if I fudged it up, or if it was an expensive thing, I'd buy them a new gun, and we don't want to do that if we don't have to. So that's about it. I mean, I'm not really afraid to try anything, but the one thing that I can think off the top of my head I haven't done is thread a barrel. But I've fit barrels in 45s and done a lot of handgun work, and I put new hands and claws and pistols, and I've had Smiths and Colts apart, double actions, and they're a little tedious too.
Oh yeah,
but not my favorite thing to do. The Rugers are a little different. They kind of slide apart. They don't have a trap door on the side, but they all have their little quirks. Some you got to make special tools. You need an extra set of hands. You need slave pins. There's little tricks to most of it. Usually you don't find out until after you battled your way through one or half a dozen times.
And that's the thing. Once you start delving into it, that's when you start figuring out, well, I need this or I need that, and these different things pop up.
Yeah, I'm talking archery. I can't do archery anymore since I screwed up my back. But I used to have a lot of fun with archery, and when I touched on it a little, but we kind of glazed over it. But what Scottson was talking about back in the day, arrows, the back of arrows, yeah, the tip arrows too, for that matter, were they look like your pencil, a sharpened pencil. So you would put your knock on, and you'd glue it on like that. And these so-called Robin Hoods were very few and far between back in the day, with aluminum arrows with that style, because it deflected the arrow. It had to be, it wasn't a pinpoint, but it was a much sharper point that you had to hit to put an arrow in an arrow. Today, with these knocks that go inside with a hole in the back, it's, I don't want to sound cocky or nothing, but it's almost easy. Once you shoot pretty good, it's almost easy.
It's a lot easier.
You hit that knock anywhere, it sucks your arrow right inside that other arrow. Like this one here I just showed you. This one here this is what you call a Robin Hood, and this was a carbon arrow with my ACC, and this wasn't my arrow into my arrow. This was my arrow into a competitor's arrow. But we literally, a couple of the guys I used to shoot with, we were really, really good, and we would literally call our shots and take off knocks and take off veins and hit other arrows, and hit spots on the deer or hit a leaf on a deer. I'm talking 3D targets. But like what Kingpin said, why don't you use multiple targets? And in flat paper target competitions, you do use different spots. They call them spots. They call them target spots, and that's the reason, because you literally hit your arrow. Most of those people can shoot really well, and they shoot a 6-spot target.
When you get to a certain point, and even with a compound bow, when you get to a certain point, you take the sight off, and sights don't exist no more. And when you get to that point, that's when you know you're good.
When I started, we didn't even have sights. We started with stick bows, and that's what you had. There's no sights on a football. There's no sights on a frisbee.
Right.
There's no sights on a baseball. You can still throw those really good.
I learned from a guy who had been doing it for over 40 years, and he taught me everything that he could teach me in the time that he worked for me, and he taught me a lot. But I'll tell you, it's the biggest thing with archery is just like shooting guns. Same thing, man. It's get out there and do it. The more you do it, that's where you dial in. And at that point in time, I was shooting every single day, probably 3-4 hours a day, and I could call every single shot. Didn't matter what it was. I could call it and I could hit it. Obviously now that's not going to happen, but I haven't shot in probably 3 or 4 years just with my shoulder, but we'll be getting back into it. My shoulder's getting better, so we'll be getting back into some of it here. Not quite into the compounds yet. The compounds gonna have to wait because the compounds just too much weight right now for the shoulder. But we'll get back into the recurves here shortly. Got a new target stand, and all that. So you'll see some of that stuff coming up too. We'll get some videos up on that.
Yeah, Walker's got a comment there. I'm just going to click on that, Jamie. About barrel nuts. Savage has been doing it for a long time, and it's become a thing now that most of the companies do it. And it was kind of looked at down your nose at it back in the day, but today it's the way they're made, and it's actually the process is actually gets you a better, easier, cheaper assembly. That's actually better. When you turn a barrel on to a receiver, Jamie touched on it there with timing. The threads are cut so the barrel times properly, so it comes up square. Especially if you're redoing something that's already got type on it, roll mark on the barrel. You don't want that. You don't want your Remington straight up under your scope. You want it on the side, so it says 3006 on one side and Remington on the other, or whatever the manufacturer is. And you have to time those threads. And if it's too long, you got to go all the way around, and then you got to face the back of the barrel off, and then you got to lengthen your chamber. So all these things they add a whole lot of work to get things right. With a barrel nut, you basically thread it on and tighten the barrel nut against the receiver, so you can spin that barrel and line it up how you want it, and tighten the barrel nut and jam it against the receiver, and you run the chamber. I mean, your go-no gauges to make sure that your headspace is proper, but you're done. You just set that and you're done. You set the torque on your nut and it's done. So there's no recutting. It's much faster and easier to get a perfect headspace.
That's that 45 ACP rifle I put together. Is that same kit. It's got a jam nut on it, the barrel nut.
Yep. The rifle I'm building now downstairs is a Savage 340 D model, and it had a barrel nut. And the guy I got it from was basically a basket case with just a bag of parts. He took it all apart and tried to put it back together. And the barrel he had cut is a conventional threaded barrel. So I have been going by facing off the front of the receiver to bring it back, to bring the timing up, to bring the headspace in. Luckily, there's no roll mark on the barrel there's a caliber designation, but that's on the bottom. So it's meant to be on the bottom. A lot of the custom rifles, they'll stamp it in with loose numbers and letters, and they put it inside the stock on the bottom. And that's something else. The stock work, I've bedded and a whole bunch of barrels, actions into barrels.
Let me address a comment out there. So Walks Fletcher, buddy, you got to draw a length like me, man. You got a long draw length, and it's still possible. There's different tricks of the trade that we use in order to make it possible to use various bows. Like for example, like my compound bow, I have to actually make my D loop twice the size of a regular D loop just so that my draw length is right. But that's one trick you can use. There's others. There's all kinds of stuff we can do to get people like yourself and myself into that kind of bow or however you want to work it. There's ways to do it. Always possible. And there are bows out there that do that kind of draw length too, but you're going to pay a little extra, but there are bows out there that do it as well.
Well, have I got a deal for you? My son gave me a Browning recurve, and it's so long I can't shoot it. I mean, I'm pulling all the way back, and I'm only about halfway there. So, I mean, yeah. Anyway, we had another topic we wanted to cover tonight too, and that's the nemaculture of RCBS and Lyman bullet molds. I think most folks understand the Lee convention on how we go about the names of the molds, and most of our, I think, MP, NOE, and most of the other companies use that same kind of naming system, but Lyman is different, and we'll probably need to let CW talk about this. But I got a page pulled up, and I think on just about all of them except your H&G, those first three numbers are pretty much your diameter, right?
In many of the molds, yeah. Hensley and Gibbs and Seiko and early Lees were just their own numbers, their own series, their own makeup design. Like Hensley and Gibbs, you'll see 68s and 73s and 70s, and the same with Seiko's. It's just a random number that doesn't really jive with anything except factory, factory consecutive numbering, however they decided to do it. And Walter knows about this stuff as well. But many of the companies, Accurate and NOE and Arsenal and MP and older Lymans, older Ideals, the first three numbers was generally a bullet diameter, and then the second three numbers is often a weight, often a consecutive number. A caliber and a diameter. Sometimes it was a bullet weight. It really depends on the era. Like the new Lymans, like the one I just had in the video today, is a random 3-digit number that probably is an in-house thing, and then followed by the old number that we used to know of as a cherry number, the cherry that cut the bullet. And some of the new stuff isn't cut with cherries; they're cut on a CNC. Right. So there is no cherry.
And then to even complicate things even farther, sometimes they'll put matching numbers on each side of the mold block just to make sure that that while they're being processed, that they keep the correct halves together for the same mold. So you'll have some oddball number on the left side of the mold block, and then the right mold block will have that same number, and it's just a system to keep the two correct blocks together.
Abigail, a cherry number. A cherry is a slang for a cutter. If you think of a router If you know what a router is, a router bit, it cuts a profile in wood. Well, a cherry is something that spins, and they take the mold blocks and it pushes around the cherry, and it cuts the mold, the bullet, and then it opens back up and the cherry comes out, or the mold drops down, one or the other. So if you think about how a bullet's done, you can't always push it in and pull it out like a drill bit. So it's called a cherry. It's just a slang for a cutter.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I looking at it, I assume something like that would be used, but I've never dived into it and actually researched it.
Someone said to check Mark's pulse. Mark has not moved a single minute minuscule of anything.
He's a tired boy.
That man is sitting there dead nuts, not moved.
He's
Period.
fine. Turn your speaker on. We can prove it to you. He's fine.
He's a tired boy.
I've got this.
Lyman does some extra numbers and letters that I don't know if they understand. But you'll find all kinds of little numbers in the corners of the molds, depending on how old they are. And they are, whether they're a person who cut it, or they're a day of the week, or a machine they're cut on, or how many times they've been cut with that cherry, I don't really know. But Lyman is, you can say a lot of things about him, but if you
I
look
got
at
a couple that have a couple extra
finish,
marks
Jason.
and numbers and stuff, and it's you got to look at it and kind of question it. But they're older molds, because I bought them on eBay, but you get what you get. But they work.
I got this one right here. It's fixing to go to mock. It's a Seiko number 50, and it's that seems Seiko name there's kind of like HG does theirs, but look at that. That's full wide cutter, 38. I mean,
Soup can.
yeah, well, it's got lube grooves in it, big time. But Mark's gonna make me a sprue plate for it, and I've sat and wondered about how they make these things, really. So basically, they just gotta. I've always wondered how they get the points down in there, but so basically they got a fence, and then they push it up next to the cherry and let it cut. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the process. To kind of squeeze those two blocks. If that's your cherry, which it's not, but then they just push the blocks up against that shape, and I don't know, with some of the gang molds, maybe they've got multiple cherries that are doing the whole block, multiple cavities at the same time, but that's the deal. It's pretty simple.
Cranky. The grandkids, when they were little, never could say my name Mark, so it's Mock until they got older. So that's where my nickname Mock came from.
No, it didn't. It's from your hair-lipped dog. Tell them the truth.
You shut up, Ohio.
Hey, you ever heard a hair-lipped dog bark?
Yeah.
They go mock, 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 mock.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
We heard that, Mrs. Hotshot.
But I thought, and if y'all can give some more advice on that. Yeah, Walks, this is a button nose wad cutter, and it these things are infamous for accuracy in 38s.
Cut a clean hole. It's pretty neat seeing the holes. It's almost like a hole punch did it.
It is. It looks like you going up there and yeah.
James, how you doing, sir?
That's a good one, Vanessa. Mike,
Mike. Hey, Mike.
where they
Yeah,
park the
you're
car
right.
in the garage.
No, it's garage. Ask Scotsman. It's not garage. It's garage.
I'm gonna go park the car.
That's right.
I got a really good friend of mine from Boston, man. Listening to him talk. Woo!
You gotta pack a car in the yard.
All right, y'all.
On 3, 2, 1. Hey.
West Coast weirdo.
Boo.
Well, even that didn't make Mark Wilson wake up.
He's out, man. Telling you, he is done dead. He's out.
I woke up 10 minutes before the chat, so I'm kind of tired myself.
Been there and done that.
What are we having for dinner, Kyle?
I haven't figured that out yet. Probably gonna make some tostadas.
Ew, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm in the process of restringing a guitar that I'm taking with me this weekend.
I don't know how you can eat so late.
I don't get off work. I don't get home till about 7 o'clock. Do you
Yeah, I'll do it.
as soon as you walk in the door? Because I don't.
Well, if I wasn't going to be home at 7, I'd eat before I got home, or I wouldn't eat. If I eat too late, I don't sleep, so I'd rather go to bed with no
Yeah,
stomach.
if I eat too late, it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
Stomach don't like food sitting on it.
Nope. Funny dreams or no sleep.
Yeah.
I think you should, Scotsman. I think you need to give him a call.
Do we let sleeping dogs lie or do we call them? I mean, I'll call them. I don't care. But do we let them sleep or do we call them?
I let him sleep.
Yeah. just
Ain't
go to
hurt
bed.
nothing.
Yeah.
I've got his
He-
number too. I just send him a text or something and let it ding a couple times.
We could take times calling him.
Morning.
You know, it's funny. Back in the day, you guys would call me, you'd text me, and I'd be so freaking out. I didn't hear a damn thing. My phone would ring constantly, over and over and over and over, freaking pinging. You
We
name
know
it.
that's why we did it.
I was out for the count. Paul Lauder is impressive. It is very impressive. That man has not moved one freaking iota.
Reminds me
Yeah,
of
it's-
myself.
That's good sleep right there. So, what else do we need to know about how they name? I think like HG Seiko, that number is pretty much a bullet design. Is that? Would
Yeah,
that be correct?
yeah. It's when Hensley and Gibbs, they just were numbered consecutively up until they sold all of their tooling to. Oh, come on, what's the company who bought Ballisticast? And then Ballisticast just added 600, I think, to the H&G number and kept on making the same bullet design. So if you have a 668 from Ballisticast, it was a Hensley and Gibbs number 68. But yeah, they're just numbered consecutively. For the most part, there's a couple they did differently, but
Tommy boy, I love me a hot ham and cheese and a pickle and a bag of chips from a bar. That was always my favorite.
Ooh,
That was
sounds
always my
good.
favorite snack at a bar.
Either that or chicken wings.
No, it was ham and cheese,
Oh, man.
pickle, and some chips.
Creative. You got to get creative. You got to have a good Reuben.
cornbread.
Depends on the bar.
Yeah, that's what I said, Hippa. I'm like, yeah, leave him alone, man. I wish I could sleep like that.
Me too.
Yeah, it'd be more fun
Which,
just hearing what he's got to say when when he reviews the chat tomorrow, how long he was there and how much talk we did about whether or not we ought to let him sleep or not.
so,
I
Let the man
trying to
talk.
stay on topic here.
yeah.
Lee uses the diameter, and there's um, different theories about if that is the size two diameter or is that the diameter of the bullet as it drops out of the mold. To me, it ought to be what did you cut that mold at? That's
Right.
the diameter I want right there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to think for me. I need you to make me a bullet mold, right?
Right.
Well, that's what I was
My
kind of getting
alloy
at.
is going to dictate the size. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and we all know that depending on what alloy we have, if you have a 356 mold, it may not drop at 356 anyway. Probably won't. So, but it's a clue. What caliber we're talking about.
That's what I was
There's
trying to get at before when I was trying to finish my comment.
Oh, sorry.
Lyman marks their molds when they're undersized or oversized. They also mark for gas checks. That's some of their nomenclature, but exactly what they are, and it's. I'm sure somebody knows, but it's not common knowledge that I know of.
somebody that buys like only their stuff would probably have might have figured it out by now. But yeah, that's what I want is I want the diameter you cut the mold to. I don't want there's Ms. Hot Shot.
Most of the companies, if you read their spiel, they'll tell you what their either they'll tell you what their alloy was, or they'll give you the option of telling them what alloy you'll be using. That's the case for Accurate, NetOE, and Arsenal. If you tell him that your main alloy is clip-on wheel weights, and you want a 148 grain wad cutter, and he'll cut it for that versus number two alloy or linotype or whatever. Whereas if you go with let's say Lee, I believe Lee is clip-on wheel weights. So when you use different alloys, like Walter just said, you're going to get different weights and different diameters because the harder alloys shrink a little more than the softer ones. So that's also part of the reason why you find sometimes harder alloy drops free easier, nicer, or drops out than a pure lead alloy will.
Okay, I need to catch up. I'm lost here. You guys are talking about bullet molds. Now, when you say he's gonna cut them, are you guys know somebody, or is there like a bullet mold smith, or are you talking about the company is gonna create a mold for you? And then Jamie, are you saying that you bought a mold for a 2-inch? And I don't know the number, so just forgive me. A 2-inch bullet, and you're getting a 1 3/4 inch bullet out. Is that what the problem is?
Um,
They're
what
selling
I
you a
was
bullet
saying,
mold that says it's this, and when you're measuring it out, it's not what they say it is.
right? Like like if I buy well that mold I was showing you, it's a number 50, but if it was a Lee, it would be named 358 uh, 148 WC wad cutter. And that would tell me it's a 358 diameter, 148 grain uh, soup can, as Mock calls it. Okay, so some some manufacturers would make that even though
Number
it was a 358 diameter, the bullet would drop out of the mold. In other words, that cavity would be cut to 359, 360, and want you to size it to 358. And my point is, I want to know what size you cut that cavity. I don't need you to think for me. I need to know what size you cut it at.
Yeah, that seems quite problematic. If my mold is a 1 and I'm getting 1.3, that's clearly too much. If my mold is
Well,
a 1 and I'm getting 0.97, that's clearly not enough. It sounds a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly.
It sounds a little bit. If they're making them too small, that's problematic because you can't add more to it. And if they're
right.
making them too big, then you guys got to go through the whole hassle of sizing the bullets. That
Well,
seems
before powder coating, that's what they did. They put them through the lubicizer, gas checked them, and sized them, so it all kind of came automatic. As far as I know, you guys up there are better authority on that, but that's, I'd rather have it a couple thousandths bigger. Obviously, powder coating doesn't add a whole lot, but you can cheat just a tiny bit when you need to.
We
Mark,
also make
Mark, no need to apologize, man. You want to talk about what your limits are as far as gunsmithing?
I've been there twice. I had a an old Alcar pistol that I couldn't disassemble. It's kind of like a Ruby copy, and just took that one in, had it disassembled, and had him show me how to do it so I could do it myself. And my NEF handy rifle had a real tight chamber. Had to have that sort of opened up a little bit, and just something I wasn't real comfortable doing by myself. And that's about it. After that, I do everything myself.
My man. So I'm reading. Y'all forgive me. See, I learn as much from you guys as what we tell people all the time. Uh, come in with some questions. There'll be somebody that knows the answer.
And even if there's not, we'll find it for you. That's the thing
Right.
is, we'll always find it for you. We'll figure it out one way or another.
So Lee depends on if your mold is over or undersized according to them.
That depends on the Lee mold too. They make those tumble lube bullets that are designed not to be sized. So they're going to drop where they're going to drop based on their alloy,
Right.
without having a need for sizing.
What do you say drop? You mean just fall out? You open up the mold and knock them out?
Yeah. When they come out of the mold, what do they measure right out of the mold?
Right on.
As cast, yeah.
Right. That's another way of saying it.
Ass cast.
Yeah. Oh no, here we go with that one again. I've had very few molds that actually drop right at what the spec says it should, and that's just because they use different alloys for, different applications. I different alloy for my 45 ACP than I do for a 44 mag, for example. And so, if one says 429, yeah, it may not drop that way because I'm using a harder alloy.
And see, Six Shooter made another point earlier that on the molds that he makes, a negative gauge can't get in there. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but what if anything, I want mine bigger than what it says on the
Yeah.
I can always size them down, and we can powder coat them and build up a little bit. But I don't trust powder coat to hold rifling the way I trust lead. Does that make sense, CW?
Um, I tend to agree, but it's actually a little stronger, depending on your alloy. Powder coating is pretty tough stuff, but it's. Go ahead, Walter.
Quenching your molds change the size or the weight or anything compared to just letting them air dry or air cool rather? Like just dunking them fresh out of the pot in water, is that any different than the size and numbers that you'll get for just dumping them on a tray somewhere and letting them cool off?
I'd imagine they'd be a little smaller, but I don't know it's going to change the weight. It's still a mass of what it is, whatever your alloy is.
Weight's not going to go anywhere.
Makes them
size
hard.
I don't know that it would be appreciable, but it's possible you could get a change in size.
And 6-shooter Texan had a comment back there too. He said, "Don't forget that the diameter of your mold cavities changes when the mold gets hot compared to what it is when it's cool. And not only that, but if you have something other than just a 1 or 2 cavity mold, if you have a 6 cavity mold, the cavities in the center, you got more metal around them than the 2 cavities on the very ends. And so the thermal expansion out there is going to be a little bit different as those 2 ends are exposed more to the air than the ones in the middle. So you can get some slight variation. But if you're sizing your bullets anyway, those kinds of variations are so slight that it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And iron molds the cavity dimension will vary differently than will aluminum or brass.
I was going to say there's going to be slight differences between aluminum, brass, and steel and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I pretty much understand sizing brass because you can kind of stretch it and crimp it and different stuff like that and change the shape of it. When you guys say sizing your molds, are you physically trimming material off of a mold because it's too big? Is that what you mean by sizing?
No, we're sizing the bullet.
No, you're taking the bullet and you're pushing the bullet through and making it a certain size.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I said, what did I say? Mold? Did I say
Yeah.
mold? No, I meant to say the projectile. Sorry.
Yeah,
exactly.
you're basically taking a die, a reloading die that's set up a certain way. And like for example, I use one where I can switch out the size of what I'm using, so I don't have to have multiple dies. I can use the one die and put in whatever size I need, and then size my bullets. But it's basically a push through, and as you push it through, it's shaving off what needs to be shaved off and making that size.
I wanna get Mike Hester on here and talk about neck tension and extreme spread and all that kind of stuff. He said you want to see him geek out. I can talk that a little bit with you.
But one thing you will notice, and I wanted to bring this up, is one thing you will notice is that.
Hold on, Walter.
For us powder coaters, for example, Kingpin, you're not going to see a whole lot of powder coat come off when you size them.
So Kingpin, here's a bullet sizing die, okay, and it's just a steel tube with a hole of the correct size through the middle of it, and this goes in a press, and this is what we call a push-through sizer. There's different methods, but here's a bullet, and let's say that bullet was too fat for the diameter that I wanted it, and we've got a ram that will just force that bullet through that die, and it's going to come out the bottom the correct size. And in order to do that, you're going to move a little bit of lead around on the surface of that bullet. the more you size, you might start pushing lead into the grease groove or onto the base of the bullet. Okay, so that you're not really compressing the bullet itself down to a smaller size. You're kind of pushing the lead to a different area on that bullet so that the whole thing comes out the correct size. But that's all it is. Okay, it's just this is how most of us, I think, are doing it. It's not how we used to do it with a lubricizing machine, which is a little bit different, but that's the technique. And these dies are all, I don't know if you can read that, okay, but the dies are different diameters, and you get the die that's the correct diameter for what you need. Where's that one on there? Yeah, should be able to read. There it is, 451. So that's a 4.451 diameter die that I use for my 1911s. Okay, and that's how big I want that bullet after it's powder coated. Powder coat it first, then shove it through that die so that it comes out at 0.451 inch diameter. And you end up with a whole bunch of different size dies.
Right on. That makes a lot more sense than actually like moving the material as opposed to removing the material.
Yeah, it just kind of pushes it down as you push that thing through the die. The lead's got to go someplace, right? And so it's going to kind of get moved around a little bit. You noticed it most in those tumble lube bullets that Lee made. They designed those, as CW said, to not have to be sized. But if you powder coated them, you ended up having to size them anyway. And they had those little micro grooves, and you could see that those little micro grooves would get smaller if you sized them substantially. The lead would kind of drift into those little grooves. Doesn't hurt anything in particular, but.
And as far as the sizes go, it comes down to preference. You got to figure out what works for you. So you got to figure out your barrel and figure out what works best for you as far as accuracy and how much accuracy do you really want out of it. And kind of comes back to that again too, as how much accuracy do you really want? You know, are you trying to go hole for hole, or are you trying to just get it within a certain range?
Yeah, and if you size a no lube groove or slick sided bullet where there's no grooves for the lead to move into, then the bullet just gets a little bit longer from stem to stern. You know, from nose to base. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, what breaks my heart? We got High Boy out there. Welcome in, buddy.
Hey, boy.
Found me a 44 mag, man. I'm thinking about pulling the trigger. Found a 10.5 inch Black Hawk.
Woo.
And Walks told me to get the 10.5 inch and have it cut down to 5.5, and it'll be even with the ejector rod.
Yep, it's a little bit heavier barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think is that rod longer with the 10.5, so it'll come the casings will come all the way out of the cylinder?
I don't know that it is. I know it's longer on the Casull, the Ruger Casull they make, the chamber one of the Blackhawks, with a longer ejector for that. But I believe I bet that they're probably standard.
Yeah, it should be standard. I don't think you're gonna see any difference. It should be standard.
That's a fact, Paul. You'd get shot twice before you could get that thing out of a holster.
Paul, at some point in time, I'll get a video done. I still got to do the video, but I have a holster from our own Mark Thomas right there. And you want to talk about a hog leg, man. You wait and see, man. I got a video coming at some point in time. It's coming. I got that holster, and that thing works like a charm, but it's coming.
Paul, the only time I've lubed bullets is when for PC is when I've had to really move more diameter. Like I use some 4.58s in my 4.52 diameter guns, and some of those 4.58 diameter bullets will run 4.62, and then I want to size them down to say 4.52 or 4.53. That's quite a bit of material. If you don't have a sizer die that's in between those that you can run it through first, a little lube will help. But I don't like it on my bullets, so I wash them afterwards to remove it.
I will say, as far as sizing goes, kind of watch that too, because, for example, like Willie sent me some bullets here. God, I don't know how long ago now. But he sent me some 9mm bullets, and I went to go ahead and load them, and I could not get them to seat right. They would not fit properly. They wouldn't do anything. I just had issue after issue after issue. So even if you size them, like he sized them to 3.56, they wouldn't work for me for whatever reason. I'm not sure exactly what it was, because I've used that bullet style prior to those bullets coming to me. I casted a whole bunch of those myself back in the day and had no issues. So I'm not exactly sure what the problem was with them, but for whatever reason, I just could not get them to work. So it's not always, you just pay attention when you're doing the sizing,
Like Tommy Boy said, some alloys will expand with time, so they will change.
Right.
And it depends on the alloy. So who knows what he had or what he used, but it could have been something like that.
That, the powder coat could be, there's a lot of factors that come into play.
So that's what we were talking about, James. I would put that trigger in myself.
Yeah, apexes aren't too bad to put in that.
So we had Chico sighting out there. What's going on, man?
Chico, brother, how you doing?
So I'm gonna go to
You
my.
want to talk about a cast in full? Go check out Chico. Chico's casting like crazy, man.
I'm gonna go to my local gun store tomorrow and see if they have a Black Hawk 44 and if they can order that for me, and see what happens. Then I'll have a 44 mag and a 44 special, and all that's be left is a 44 lever gun. Already got a cross draw holster for the special.
Then you'll have the trifecta.
Plus, I have a recently completed coach gun, 12 gauge side by side. So I'll be ready for cowboy action shooting if I can find a place to go do that. So, and it got real quiet.
I got quiet for reasons.
And then they were all gone.
And just like that.
Just like that.
So which one of you guys have been working on making your own primers?
Haven't done any of that. I remember you talking about that, Kingpin, and I haven't done much of that.
Yep, not it.
I haven't had a real need to do it yet. I wouldn't be afraid to try. I know you guys have, and there are a couple of kits that came out that you could get to make do your own. But
Chico brings up a good point. A lot of times we reach out to each other and we talk to each other and figure out what we're doing before we do it. and guys up in side chat, if you need to reach out to us and ask us questions, do it. That's what we're here for. We all help each other out. Like I reached out to Jamie here not too long ago before I bought another pot. I had something that popped up while I was searching for something else, and was like, hey, should I do this? Because I think it's a good deal. And we went back and forth for a little bit, but that's what we do. We talk to each other, we figure stuff out. So, you guys have questions, just ask us, let us know.
Sometimes we talk each other down. I would make a terrible seamstress.
I just I want to say to G23, we hope you're feeling better, buddy. Lots of prayers been sent up for you, and I know the Lord's got this. So there's that. Oh man, that would be so cool.
It would be. That would be cool.
Was it a 10 or a 12, Tommy boy? Or do you know? Do you remember?
Yeah, what is it, too?
Yeah, who made it? There's Ozark. We can start now. 10 gauge. Heck yeah, baby. I was watching a cowboy movie the other day, and I forget the name of the movie, but I didn't get to finish it. I'm going to go watch it. But this dude walked around carrying a side-by-side 8 gauge. I'm talking about that thing cleared out the bar room. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Lord. What's it do? Shoot 2 beer cans?
No.
I was thinking that.
No, it shot buckshot. Tell Twine we said howdy, Ozark.
You guys talking about different firearms and things. I've got a friend who has collected some infamous firearms.
I got a friend too, Jim.
And I'm going to do some videos on them. What do you see these, man? And where they're from? It's pretty dang cool.
Are they infamous?
That's the movie walks.
They were made famous by the actions they were chosen to do.
Yep, Ito Mortensen. Yep, that's the one. That's the man. Ego.
Anybody else here have a German Shepherd that has an uncanny knack for laying right in the way of where you're trying to walk?
My dog did that once. I stepped on him. He quit doing it after that.
I'm afraid to step on her. I'll gain 1.5 feet in height.
I tell mine all the time, get out from under my feet or you get stepped on.
She's got an uncanny knack for laying right in the damn way.
Yep. I won't purposely hurt her, but I won't fall down to get out of her way.
Right, exactly. I'll kick her every now and then and act like it's an accident.
Yeah, mine's a whip. She yelps all the time. If you touch her when she don't expect you to touch her, she yelps.
Oh. Well, I got my guitar restrung while I was listening to everything going on. That was a
Let's
drum.
hear it.
Oh, it's
Let's hear
nowhere
something.
near ready to play, and I ain't got an amp here at the house to plug it into.
I thought maybe it was an acoustic.
Oh, I got one of them I'm gonna take too. I've got almost as many guitars as I have guns. Almost.
Marvin, I used to have an Ithaca 51, and I wish I'd never sold it. That's a 10 gauge semi-auto.
My brother-in-law came up with a Browning BPS around Christmas time, wanting to sell it for $500. and I thought it's a pump shotgun, dude. You know,
Right.
uh, but I talked to CW. Those are awful nice guns, and it felt like no other pump shotgun I'd ever had in my hands before. I'll say that it was a
Very
extremely
nice.
nice quality gun,
Yeah, they're
but
good for long.
it had some scars on it, and not just that. I know my brother-in-law, and I know where he comes up with most of the stuff he has for sale, and typically it's from somebody else's house. So
Well, he gets that discount.
Yeah, not a good thing. Not a good thing. I sold my shotgun today. Had a
what
Rock
kind of
Island.
shotgun?
I had that one I brought down there, that Rock Island Armory, that VR80, that white one.
Oh yeah, the AR-15 thing.
Yep. Guy couldn't find one in stock, and he offered me a nice bite over what I had in it. And I was like, okay.
There you go.
All right.
I've got
That's a lot.
plenty of 12 gauge shotguns.
Yeah, man, stores got lots of 12 gauge shotguns, a lot less money.
Mm-hmm.
Nice ones. But he offered me quite a bit over what I had in it. So I want that new race gun. That's what it is.
Do y'all
Yeah.
remember many years ago when Walmart came out with the Sam Walton edition Brownings, the 1100s, I think? They're semi-automatic with all the gold inlay with Sam Walton's uh, engrave on it, his picture, and all the gold engraving and stuff on it.
Yeah, it'd be a thing to bring to an event. Hey, everybody, you want to see my Walmart shotgun?
Well, no, it's a Browning, but it's a Sam Walton edition. I mean, they're beautiful shotguns. He's got a 20 and a 12. I've got the 12 in my gun safe. He's got the 20 at his house. But they were gorgeous shotguns. Man, they shoot flawlessly, of course, because they're Brownings. And my dad's like, "You're not going to shoot that, are you?" I'm like, "What good is it if I can't?" I said, "I'm the only one here that knows how to clean them. You were in the Air Force."
My boss just sold his Magnum Research Trump 40 Trump edition, all engraved. It was beautiful.
That 1911.
Yeah.
Apparently those Browning Satoris are the standard for sporting clays.
Oh, those are beautiful, beautiful guns.
They are.
A good friend of mine that lives right across Highway 20 from me, Jamie. We grew up together. He's got sequentially numbered 410s, 12 gauges, and 20 gauges. I'm like, "Do you know what those are worth?" He goes, "Yeah, that's why they're under the bed." I don't think he's ever shot them. He's got 2 of each, and they're all sequentially serial numbered.
Hey, Big E, bye, Big E. Yeah, those are very nice. And apparently, if I could make some good money just riding around on the circuit with a few tools replacing firing pins. The
Yeah, he's
problem
never
with
shot
that
it.
is getting those springs out is pretty easy. It's getting them back in that's the trick.
Getting them
And
back in.
that's going to be covered on on my video.
Oh, everybody on the panel and the side chat. YouTube has changed their rules yet again. So you might want to go back and reread, and you might want to start taking some videos down. Braden at Langley Outdoors Academy had to take down over 300 videos. He did it on his own accord because he got a warning on, and he was just talking about the Second Amendment. He got a warning, and he did it on his own accord. He took down over 300 videos.
Yeah, I watched the video. I don't know exactly what the story is, but he's not going to elaborate either.
Yeah. He just said they've changed the firearms clause in their rules and regulations.
To what?
He didn't elaborate, and I ain't going back and reading them. You want to
Apparently, you need a Ouija board and a magic 8-ball to figure out what the rules are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then check it every couple hours because it changes.
Basically, what they've changed is now you cannot show load in a magazine if it's 30 rounds or more.
Goodbye, YouTube. But over this crap.
But how do you qualify that? Because you have 20-round mags that look like a 30-round mag.
They've obviously changed more than that because he's never had a firearm on his channel in any of his videos that he put on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was doing then. They've changed a lot of stuff, man. But see, here's the other part to it too is YouTube also has the open clause of and whatever else we decide or define.
Right, they're just picking on him.
Yep.
They don't like our kind. It's that simple.
Well,
they love us. What are you talking about?
I'll say this, and then we got to start going through the room. I'm assuming Gizzard Gary is back, so he'll be having a show tonight. As most of you know, we're not young men. We've had jobs. We've been to college and a lot of other stuff. Life is about jumping through the hoops. And if you set the hoops on fire, we'll just go faster and still jump through the hoops, even though they're flaming on fire.
And do a
What we can't do is jump through the hoops if you wait till we're airborne and then move them.
Yeah.
Can't do that. And that
Kyle
seems
is an airborne ranger.
And that's what they keep doing is just keep moving damn goalposts.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we don't want you jumping through hoops if you got a kilt on. I mean,
hey, you know what? It's a built-in flotation device coming down. I'm slowing down faster than you are, buddy.
Oh yeah, it's like a built-in parachute.
Yeah, especially head first, Scotsman. Some things you just can't unsee, you know.
Thank you, Jamie, for the picture.
I was about to say I'm gonna need a cheese grater to get that out of my head.
Yeah.
We can arrange that. All right, let's start going through the room and see what we got coming up. So we got Kingpin back with us tonight. Man, thank you for being here. We love those velvet tones. We love your inquisitive mind. So thanks for showing up and hanging out with us a little bit tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And everybody have a good evening. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, sir. Mock, what's going on? What you got coming up?
Oh, little 30-06, a little more, doing some more chronograph on that. Just trying to survive in Biden's America right now. It's good to see Mark Thomas and Kingpin on the chat. And got a new mold I'll be working with, playing around. I got several different uses for that mold, so we'll try to get into it. If not, if YouTube lets us have these videos, we'll share them when we can. So other than that,
I gotta interrupt for a second. I have to. You said Biden's America. This is our America. Screw
Well,
Biden.
he's getting all the credit for the bad stuff going on, is what I said.
Screw Biden. This is our America. We make it what it is. This is our America. Screw that.
Well, we get snuffed out, so I'm not going to agree with you. We keep getting snuffed out. We can't make any changes. So,
And who's next?
Mark with a C. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm great after a little rest.
Thanks for being here tonight, buddy. We
Sorry
always
about
enjoy
that.
you
It has
hanging
been a
around.
long week.
No apologies necessary.
Too bad.
And a big dinner before the show. But I don't have too much upcoming. I did do some powder coating last week. I got to check out that new mold that I got through Taco from NOE. I cast up some nice bullets. They're going to make some really nice 308 and 300 Savage bullets. Got them powder coated. Just needed to size them and do a little bit of loading. I cast up some nice 32 bullets. I'm going to load some maybe 32 auto and definitely some 32 Smith & Wesson long. Just going to have some bullets to plink with. And I need to get in the shop and do some leather work. I'm way behind on some orders. And well, there's some people that have been waiting for a month or two for some things. So we'll get some of that stuff
Don't
made
worry
up.
about me, Mark. You do other stuff first.
Well, I've got quite a few others. I got some holsters and some sheaths. So we'll get those done and try to get some video made. And well, we'll see what comes.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks
Mark,
for having me.
I still want to get with you on my Ruger Red Hawk holster.
Yeah, I can do that.
That'll be interesting. Mr. Scotsman, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. It's knees are getting better. Some of you may or may not have heard, but I had some knee issues, and knees are finally on the mend and getting better. So hopefully we'll get some videos out here pretty soon. Again, I threw it out there at the beginning of the chat, but my other channel, I'll throw it up. I'll link out there again on the side, but we will be doing a weekly show coming up on that channel. Setting up some stuff here at the house to get that going. A dedication, if you will, to our good friend, Mr. Holster. So check that out. Hopefully we'll have the first one up here. I'm going to say probably within the next 2 weeks. I have a custom sign coming, and it's supposed to be here hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So we'll get that going here pretty soon, but check that out, and I hope you guys will join me. We'll be talking guns. We'll be talking pretty much anything that you guys want to talk about. Kind of doing a reminiscence of what Mr. Holster used to do, you know, sitting there and talking about some guns, talking about this, that, the other. So let's keep him alive, keep his memory alive, and keep that alive. With that being said, guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all jumping in and showing up and being a part of this. It's always good to be here on Friday night and hang out with you guys. So thank you. Smash that thumbs up, and that's all I got. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to go sub that here in a minute. Mr. Walter.
Hey guys, yeah, I just subbed that one too, Scotsman. So thanks. Yeah, I appreciate the invitation as always to come and chat with you folks. It's always an interesting thing to see what's going on over on the side chat. There, guys were hopping and popping over there tonight as usual. Had a pretty good number that came aboard with us, and so we appreciate all you guys over there that come on board and listen to the I was going to say drivel coming from the side of the board, but we had some good topics tonight, I thought. So that was interesting. That was good stuff. And as far as what I got coming up, I've got the next piece of this 45 series that I'm going to put out here in the next couple of days on measuring all of those 7 different 200 grain semi-wad cutter bullets that I cast up for this thing, and we'll take all the metrics of that. That'll be the next piece of that. So that'll be out in a couple of days. I started working on that already today. So other than that, I got 4 drawers full of molds that I've gotten never cast. I got to come up with an idea on giving myself an excuse to get in there and get those suckers fired up and start using them. I've got more molds than I know what to do with. So time to start doing some casting. Less talking, more casting. So that's what I'm up to. Mr. Hot Pot, are you awake over there? What you got going on? Who, what, where?
After you started talking, man, I started getting droopy eyed. Oh.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jamie. I greatly appreciate it. I really enjoy these Friday night chats. I look forward to them. But everybody out there, I'm going to be having a Just For What giveaway. And so I got to do some stuff to what I got, and then I'll be posting a video on it. I got some other videos coming out this week. I'm doing a series on that High Point JXP 10 millimeter. Very interesting firearm. Put High Point down all you want, but I'm gonna butter it up, put some icing on that cookie. Say the least. And I've also got some other very interesting firearms. I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine collects infamous firearms. So he's got a few of them. I'm going to be doing some videos on those coming up soon. But thanks for coming by tonight, everybody. Great seeing everybody on the panel again. Side chat was rocking, popping, as the Viejo said. Yeah. Everybody just have a blessed weekend. And just remember to live, love, laugh, and reload.
Thanks, Gene. We appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Kyle, you going to do anything this week?
I don't know about this week, but this weekend I'm heading up to my uncle's house in North Carolina, and we're going to see if we can make our fingers bleed, playing a little guitar, recording a little bit of music, singing, laughing, having a good time. Be a nice end of the week. I don't have to work on Monday, so we're just going to have a good time. Mark with a C, Kingpin, it was great to see y'all. And, of course, Mock with a K. Good to see you, brother. Good to see everybody on the side chat. Y'all be sure and stick around for a little bit, and we'll cut up when all this is over. But it was great to see everybody interacting and all that. I got a couple of shotgun rounds loaded, and then I decided to string guitar. So that's what I was doing. Y'all just have a good time, I guess.
You're muted, Jamie.
Did y'all hear any of that?
Yeah.
Yep.
My
I was
camera
asking-
froze from being in the reloading room.
Yeah, you're talking, but your mouth's not moving. My mouth is moving, but I'm not saying anything.
I'm not even in the same room.
Them Georgia boys, look at them.
I'm telling you what. So, CW, what are you working on this week, brother?
I got a couple more videos coming out on my cartridge collection. Stretch that out at least one more. I got one more coming out tomorrow for an unboxing and some of that mold work I did on Ricky's mold. I didn't video a lot of it, but it's coming out. And Ricky and I got his 2545 assembled, but we didn't do a video on it because, well, we kind of got talking and forgot. But it's just as well with YouTube's new rules here, and you don't know what you can do and what you can't. And we weren't going to show the whole thing anyway because I know that's a no-no. But probably the whole thing wouldn't have been allowed anyway, so it's probably just as well. But yeah, I got at least one more I know of, maybe two more in the cartridge collection. We'll see how the bench fills up when I start unloading the shelf in the box. So I did that today, and it filled up really fast. So I just did the shotgun. So it's been
That was a
well
that was a
received.
fun that was
Yeah.
a fun video.
Thank you.
How about
You done?
Jamie? What do you got going on?
I want to make a shotgun video. I want to make a melting pot video, casting pot video, and then I want to start. It's probably going to be a series, but I'm going to refinish my Savage 16 gauge side by side, and I'm probably going to do probably 2, 3, maybe 4 videos about that. So
That'll be cool.
anyway, that's what I'm wanting to. That's what I have in the plans. Uh, and I'm
Ocean
thinking,
274 did a video for you. Did you get to see that, Jamie?
oh yeah,
That was
yeah,
pretty good.
and
He posted like four of this week.
it dawned on me. I'll leave a comment and he'll text me, and I'm like, you know what? We should probably be having this conversation on YouTube. So yeah, sure help his metrics. And
I just did that to Timmy Screwtube there. I did that to him in one of his videos. He laughed about it.
yeah, we every time I make a comment on one of his videos, we'll wind up texting for about 30 minutes afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, we should be doing this on YouTube. But anyway, uh, Tactical Fud, I hope that answered your question about the namaculture for the molds. We didn't get into it as deep as I wanted to, but maybe we can get the Rebel on here and we'll talk about accuracy and long distance reloading and stuff like that. That'd be a fun time. I want to thank you guys on the panel for sharing some of your Friday evening with us. I know it's a commitment, and we appreciate you, all you guys on the side chat. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us as well. Y'all are where we get most of our information. Anytime you would like to join the panel or you would like a topic discussed, just send us an email at georgiashootingconnection@gmail.com. And we hope the Lord blesses y'all all real good. And if He's willing, we'll see y'all next Friday night at 8 o'clock. Say good night, y'all.
God bless everybody.